Hi guys, my name is Gil. Welcome to my workshop again. And in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to route a recess for a handle, an American style handle that is. In this case I'm going to be using a Steve Alexander aluminum handle, and you can kind of see in this spear gun that it's sunken into the bottom of the gun here. And that's what we're going to do basically. You can kind of see, if you compare handles side by side, that the one that's already mounted in this gun is already sunken in. Okay, and it's a nice thing to have on a spear gun. It makes it stronger as far as being able to react the load as you pull on the trigger and you release the shaft. And it provides a little bit more finish to a spear gun. So with that, I'm going to show you how to set this up on the router table. We're going to do a little bit of math on paper first. Don't worry, it's very simple. And then I'll show you how to set up a fence, an auxiliary fence, and actually do the routing. So again, this is all 90% setup, 10% actual machining. So here we go. Alright, you guys, here I have a router table, and I'm going to be kind of showing you roughly what the setup is going to be before we get into the actual measuring. Here's my spear gun. It's blank right now. It's nice and straight. I've done the trigger pocket, the trigger mounting holes, and the sideline release, as well as the track here. I've gone ahead and mounted a stop to the end of to the back end of my gun here. You kind of see a couple screws there that go into the butt of the gun, and I've got some excess here. So very similar to how we did the trigger pocket. I'm going to set up a forward and aft stop to limit the travel when we do our routing. And I'm also going to set up an auxiliary fence here, and this is going to keep the gun from moving too far out. So it's going to stop against here, okay, sort of in that motion here. So got this auxiliary fence, and I'm going to put an extra guide here, and it's going to be at the same distance as the auxiliary fence. So before we start our setup, we're going to have to determine the distance at which we need to set our main fence to the router bit, and also the distance that we need to set the auxiliary fence from the main fence. Okay, so we're going to have to sit down and do a little bit of math. It's pretty simple. I'll walk you through the equations. Alright, you guys. Okay, so we're going to do some good old-fashioned math here. So what we want to calculate is basically your distance from the bit, one side of the bit, to the main fence. So let's say this is your router bit, and this is your main fence. Okay, so what we want to do is calculate the distance from the fence to the router bit that's the side of the router bit that's closest to you. Okay, so we'll call that A. Okay, see that? And then the next number we're going to calculate is the distance from the main fence to your auxiliary fence. So let's sort of sketch in our auxiliary fence here, and we want to calculate the distance from the main fence to the auxiliary fence. Okay, we're going to use those two numbers to set up our fence with a pair of calipers. Okay, so what we need is basically the width of the gun, and we'll label that as WG, width of gun. And we'll also need the width of the handle, so WH equals width of handle. Okay, and D is our router bit diameter. Okay. Okay, so the two equations that we're going to use to determine A and B is A equals WG plus WH, divide that by 2. Okay, and B will be WG plus WH minus D. Okay, so what we'll do is basically go ahead and take the measurements of the width of the gun and the width of the handle, and we already know that our router bit diameter is 1/4 inch. Okay, and then proceed with our setup. Okay, so here we have our gun stock, and we're going to take our width measurement for the gun, WG. So here I'm showing 2.254. Okay, I'm going to write that down. And then the width of our Alexander handle here is 1.177. Okay, make sure that's 0. .176, 1.177. Okay, I'll write that down. And since we want a little bit of clearance from the wood to the handle as far as the width goes, I'm going to add 30 thousandths to WH. So that equals 1.207. Okay, and our router bit diameter is 0.25. Okay, so this should be pretty easy if you have a calculator. I'm just going to go ahead and do the calculation here. I'm going to calculate A first. So 2.254 plus 1.207 equals 3.461 divided by 2. So 1.7305. So 1.731. That's our A dimension. Okay. Then now I'm going to calculate our B dimension. 2.254 plus 1.207 equals minus 0.25. Equals 3.211. Okay, so it's really important to write these down. We're going to use these two dimensions to set up our fence next. Okay, so I brought my router bit. It's already installed. I brought my router bit up to a distance where the shank is exposed, and you can take a measurement from the shank to the distance to the fence. Okay, now I'm going to zero my calipers here, and we're going to lay out, set up this A dimension first. Okay, so remember I'd written down A is 1.731. I'll do that first. Okay. Lock this down, and then position the fence. What you want to do is use this this end here on your calipers, and let the bit bear up against that this corner here. Okay. So I have to push this back. Okay. Just tap on the fence until it touches the end of the caliper. Okay, and then lock that down. Always want to lock down your fence tight. Okay. Now, my B dimension, I had written down 3.211, so we're going to set that to 3.211. Okay, and lock this down. Okay, and I want to set up this auxiliary fence first. Okay, so I'm going to need a couple of clamps here. Okay, so now that it checks, what we want to do is lower your bit and then set up the fore and aft stop. Okay.